the importance of treating children like people, but not adults. You will often hear children say that they can't wait to grow up. But I think that often when children say that they want to be treated like adults, what they really mean is that they want to be treated like people. They want to be listened to and treated with respect. I remember when I was younger, I was frequently told I was really mature for my age, that I was a little adult. And in some ways, I was. I was responsible, rational, self-controlled, and I wanted to look after everyone. But I was also endlessly curious, and I loved playing with my dolls, and at the end of the day, I was 6. And some of the adults around me seem to forget that last bit sometimes. And unfortunately, this can be the case for a lot of kids, with a 2006 study estimating that there were 1.3 to 1.4 million adultified children in the US alone, later believed to be a significant underestimate. Whether it is their family members coming to them to mediate arguments and complain about each other, or their teachers sitting them next to the quote-unquote naughty kids to placate them, the adults in these children's lives can glorify the idea of them being mature so much that they frown upon being children and doing child things. I wish someone could explain to them that it's still okay to be a kid, and adults will still take care of them if they aren't actively helping them all the time. These kids can be terrified of being seen as an inconvenience. They are often told they are perceptive children, but I worry they've just learnt to walk on eggshells. Either way, they see that the adults around them are busy and tired and stressed. And they think that if they help as much as they possibly can, that these adults will like them and care for them and look after them, things which they should probably already be doing regardless. Ironically, this sometimes seems to have the opposite effect, with these children being perceived as independent and easy to deal with, meaning that the adults in their lives will devote their attention to those who need it more. Absurdly, it seems that these children are expected to have the obedience of kids and the maturity of adults. I think we live in a culture that swings between two extremes. On the one hand, we can treat children like tiny adults, expecting perfect manners, emotional self-control, and rational decision-making. But on the other hand, we can treat them like property, talking about them, making decisions for them, but rarely truly listening to them. I think that there's an in-between somewhere, which is better for everyone. But sometimes, that line between treating a child like a person and treating them like an adult, or adultifying them, can be blurry. Children deserve to be treated with human dignity. Their feelings are real, and their thoughts and opinions are valid. But their brains are still developing, and when we expect adult behavior from these developing brains, we don't only treat kids unfairly in the moment, we introduce an underlying but perfidious culture of shame. We tell them to use their words before interrupting them. We tell them to calm down without having taught them how to properly regulate their emotions. I propose that this is actually counterproductive, because this makes children act in what they perceive as the right way, but not for the right reasons, out of fear and worrying about consequences alone, rather than genuine understanding and willingness. What I'm not saying is that we should have no boundaries when it comes to children. As is identified with Minuchin's family system theory, hierarchical boundaries which are clear between children and parents are essential to a child's positive development. However, I am saying that respect can and should go both ways, and respect and control are not the same thing. I believe that treating a child like a person means giving them an appropriate level of agency, while also understanding that it's important to ask them why they did something wrong and ask how they're feeling, rather than only punish them for wrong actions. Parentification is one of the main subsects within adultification. This occurs when the child is made to take on the role of a supportive adult in their family dynamic. There are two types of parentification. Emotional parentification, whereby the child becomes the parent's emotional caretaker, counselor, or confidant, and instrumental parentification, whereby the child is forced to take on physical care or labor beyond their means, such as having sole responsibility over their younger siblings or excessive amounts of housework. A June 2023 study from the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health suggests that the impacts of parentification extend far beyond childhood and into adulthood, often having higher correlation with things such as depression, anxiety, drug use and addiction, under and unemployment, poor physical health, and lower educational attainment. The prefrontal cortex is one of the most important things developing in children and young adults. This is the part of our brains responsible for decision-making, long-term planning, and impulse control. According to the Cleveland Clinic, it does not fully develop until around our mid-20s and is often even later for neurodivergent individuals or those with mental health issues such as depression. Adultification and parentification are harmful to children of all ages, not only in early childhood. It has a high impact on neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural pathways and connections, adapting function and structure, the development of which is shown in the graph above. The first critical period of development occurs from around birth to age 7. It is during this time that children develop attachment as well as the beginnings of emotional regulation. Chronic stress, which can be caused by parentification, can dysregulate nervous systems and stress systems before self-regulation even exists in these children. Parentification also strongly predicts an insecure attachment style later in life. During middle childhood, around ages 6 to 10, is when children develop emotional regulation and moral reasoning. When parentified at this age, there is the risk that the child may be able to present as content and happy while masking emotional burden. It is also during this time that emotional schemas are developed. These are, according to emotional schema theory, or EST, internal patterns or frameworks that shape how we view emotions, either seeing them as useful signals, known as adaptive schemas, or as harmful and embarrassing things to be controlled, known as maladaptive schemas, the latter of which strongly correlates with unhealthy coping mechanisms later in life and is one of the potential risks of parentification. The second major wave of neuroplasticity occurs during adolescence, around age 10 to 25. This time is a time of identity formation for the majority of people. And this important process can be disrupted by parentification by not allowing the child to create an individual identity separate from that of the parent and its associated responsibilities. In turn, disrupting other important and key processes such as the formation of boundaries and emotional autonomy. And it isn't just mental health which is affected by adultification and parentification. It has been shown to dysregulate stress systems. For example, leading to a higher baseline level of cortisol, the stress hormone, as well as a hyperactive amygdala, the brain's threat detector, which can be overly sensitive, and increased sympathetic nervous system when the fight or flight response can be set off too easily. These symptoms are conducive to the chronic stress which can be caused by parentification and can lead to anxiety disorders in the future. When you adultify a child, you are quite literally rewiring their brain and their nervous system. As my final message, I would like to say to all the adults in the room, you will make mistakes, and that's okay, you're a human being too. What's important is to learn from those mistakes. We have the opportunity to shape the next generation, so please, let us help them to be the best versions of themselves by being the best versions of ourselves. Listen when it's inconvenient, and explain when it's easier to order. Let's model the behavior we want to see. Thank you.